And here we go. Stage 34, Grammar Screencast. In this stage, we're going to be covering some exciting things. First, we'll be covering the present infinitive, past, predicate infinitives, clauses, debitive aspect, gerund, gerundive, complementary gerundive. So let's begin. This obviously is we're dealing with the passive that we've seen before. And this, of course, we are dealing with the infinitive. Passive infinitive has the long I, except for 3I, where it's shortened to copy. There is no passive infinitive of sum. The perfect infinitive is what we've seen before, perfect stem, isse infix, or isse ending. Now, to create the passive, it's just like every other perfect. You create the passive with the perfect participle. But now, an infinitive verb, esse. So, to have been praised, to have been seen, to have been sent. Of course, this is just a nice translation, but we realize the indirect statement clauses are totally different. Now, the future participle is, of course, the future infinitive is the urus construction, urus, with an infinitive, esse. So oftentimes that esse isn't found in real Latin, futurum esse or fore. Now, the passive is a fun one. We have the perfect participle passive that's being used, but instead of esse, you're using ire, which is great, to be going to be praised, or intending or going to be seen, or going to be sent. This is that concept in English that we have of going. Here it is in Latin to indicate a future infinitive aspect. So therefore, we see here, let's start with the first clause, predicate infinitive clause. In other words, sometimes the infinitive clause can stand as a verbal noun with the verb est. For example, to err is human. It's an equational phrase, also called a predicative. So a predicate infinitive. So to suffer pain is evil, where it's almost a phrase substitution clause. It is beautiful to know one's own faults, equational. So you have this est verb. Some verbs are really the key. Moving on, so after we deal with infinitives and predicate infinitives, let's talk about the good old debitive, which we've seen in previous chapters. This, of course, is the perfect participle, not the future participle passive. So the inde is what we're looking for. The gerundive of obligation, signaling a debitive aspect, is a periphrastic with the form of sum to create a debitive aspect. Carthage must be destroyed or is needing to be destroyed. Sailors must be seen. There is a concept of necessity, obligation, or propriety. The construction is passive. And the gerundive will agree, or the gerund will agree with the subject of the sentence. So, agent phrase, obviously, that we've seen before, is dative. The province must be defended. Defendenda est, by us, or you. There must be a fighting by me. Now, this right here, whenever you see a neuter singular, and there's no subject for it, it's almost as though it's an impersonal verb. But it's got that concept of obligation, of debitive. So it must be fought by us, or there must be a fighting by me. So, and you could also say, I must fight if you wanted to change it from active to passive. So, in other words, the real key, and for some of the constructions you'll see, is when you have a singular neuter nominative right here in the participle, in the future passive participle, ndum, you do have a concept of like there must be a fighting. Just something to know. Always for the debitive, matendum est, it needs to be sent, or there must be a sending, you could also say. There was needing to be a sending, or it needed to be sent, and it was need to be sent if it's a future. Now that we've talked about debitive, let's talk about what a gerund is. A gerund is the future passive participle that takes the place of a noun. So because it takes place of a noun, it can have case. So he is desirous of reading. This is genitive, so it's possessive. We learn ablative means phrase by reading. By obeying the king willfully. All right. So let's go through these. It is common for the gerund in the genitive to be with causa or gratia. For the sake he came, for the sake of reading, for the sake of conferring, for the sake of passing the winter. So any genitive, art of writing, mode of living. Notice these are genitive possessive phrases. Dative of purpose is often used too, but any case could be used. The water is useful takes the dative for drink. That should actually be bibendo. Could also work with ad. They give themselves to playing. Could be ablative means, right? The mind is nourished by thinking, often with prepositions, in commanding and forbidding. So remember, a gerund is by nature a verb acting like a noun. And because nouns in Latin have case and phrase, there you go. Big thing, gerundive. Now, gerundive means when it's acting with a noun in the same gender number case. Ive means adjectival. So therefore, a verb acting as a noun, acting as an adjective. So therefore, a book, and it does have that concept of obligation that must be read or to be read. A plan of taking the city. Notice that whatever is in genitive seems to be an object phrase, if you wanted to put it that, taking the city in English, or the city to be taken. So, for the sake of urging you. So it almost becomes this actually, if you looked at it, that thing that's in genitive, that noun that's in agreeing with the participle, the unda, almost becomes an object phrase. So the woman fled for the sake of saving herself, of her self-saving. These are kind of concepts of, like, if you had hyphens, you would put it there, of us encouraging, of her self-saving. He orders the making of the bridge, or bridge making. He gave city destroying. He gave over the city to be plundered, you could also say. And he came for the sake of book reading. So in other words, it's almost like a hyphenated noun. And then, of course, complementary gerundive. When you see an odd, sometimes in, but also odd, you will see a concept of purpose. So he ought, Senate gave to the councils the republic for defending, or for defending the republic. The boy came for girl kissing, to order to kiss the girls. So generally speaking, you call me for the writing, and he came to book reading. The concept here of the gerundive is you will have a noun that agrees with the future passive participle in gender, number, and case. These concepts could be flipped for, you could take the libros legendos two ways. One, the easy way that you won't see, hyphenated. He came for book reading. Or you could take the noun that's in agreement with the future passive participle and turn it to the object phrase. He came to read books. All right. Well, that was fun and complicated, but so are you. And enjoy these. And we'll see you again soon. Aloha.